It's happening again. You thought you were safe after the Druid fiasco, so you give D&D another chance. This time, you're going to play a Ranger. Wardens of the land, sky, and sea. You imagine someone with wind in their hair, reading the clouds and waves as an experienced seafarer. Excitedly, you throw open the player's handbook and turn to the character classes page and find that yet again your wishes have fallen upon Watsy's deaf ears. Apparently Rangers have never even seen the ocean. Those tree huggers might not even know how to swim as far as 2014 is concerned, unless you count optional class features. How could this happen again? How? Hello one and all, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Andrew,
Artsmith and Wordsmith of the Mithril Canvas, where we make homebrew items, monsters, and more for you to use in your D&D 5th edition campaigns. And we're back with yet another installment of subclasses that we think should absolutely exist in D&D 5e, but for whatever reason have been glossed over.
The goal with these subclasses is not necessarily to surprise anyone with the concept, but rather to highlight archetypes curiously missing in the base game.
For example, in our last video we touched on the lack of a plant-focused druid, which we still think is a gross oversight. The fact that a circle of spores officially exists, but not one for plants themselves, still baffles us.
So, we've committed to tackling this issue, coming up with one quote-unquote obvious subclass for each of the 12 base classes, with 3 more making their appearance with this video. The series name is still up in the air, with Skip Class as our frontrunner, but if you got better ideas, let us know. We're not married to the title.
Today we'll be digging deeper into the holes of Wizard's design space, and first up, to cure your ails, we've got a ranger who sails upon the open seas. Life on the ocean is never for the faint of heart, and a Corsair exemplifies the grit and discipline required to sail the open seas. Distancing themselves from their fellow rangers who prefer to remain on land, these maritime denizens instead hone their skills against water and wind. Keeping order no matter how perilous the situation, they captain their crews as well as their vessels to lands and riches untold.
It makes no sense that the Ranger, wanderer of nature and its primal wilderness, has nothing based around the largest and possibly most treacherous environment in the world, the ocean.
Water or sea-based subclasses in general are pretty lacking in D&D, though Wizards are somewhat rectifying this with the Druid Circle of the Sea in 2024. Nevertheless, as someone who has run a campaign specifically centered around exploring the world's oceans, this is an insult to me personally.
Seafaring characters are so varied in the media, it was hard to pick a starting point. We were initially tempted by swashbuckly types like Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean or Sinbad from his titular movie.
But since these types of characters felt like they would find a better home in the rogue, who literally has a swashbuckler subclass, we leaned into a sailor in command of his ship and crew, guiding them around the battlefield as a captain would.
More of a Barbossa than a Jack in that way, with his penchant for $5 words as well as sword fighting while being boarded.
I'm disinclined to acquiesce to your request. Means no.
After all, a small change in flavor is all it takes to play as a steadfast admiral of a proper fleet instead of a pirate or privateer.
First, at 3rd level, with seafaring you obviously gain proficiency with both water vehicles and navigator's tools, which you can use your wisdom modifier for any related checks on.
Additionally, you gain a swim speed and a +1 bonus to your AC as long as you are not wearing heavy armor or a shield.
At the same level, you also gain access to the Corsair spell list, which is a mix of water-based utility spells and others to help you thrive in close quarters combat.
Finally, just to future-proof against the 2024 Ranger, Captain's Call makes the Hunter's Mark spell always prepared for you, which you can use twice per long rest without expending a spell slot.
But the juicy part of Captain's Call lets you spend a bonus action to direct an ally to make a weapon attack against a target within range, dealing your additional Hunter's Mark damage on a hit if it's marked.
Finding a balance between being a frontline fighter defending your ship, as well as a commander instructing your crew, we found our footing with the rest of the subclass.
At 7th level, you have the mouth of a sailor. As expected,
You've got blood! You've got blood! What? Shit, you got so much fucking blood!
Anyway, once per long rest, you can unleash your profanity, dealing some psychic damage and giving creatures of your choice disadvantage on the next d20 check they make within the next minute.
You swear so good, you make your enemies clutch pearls. Let's see cutting words do that.
And if you wish, you can use this feature again before finishing a long rest by expending a 3rd or higher level spell slot.
At 11th level, Emergency Tactics says whenever you are hit with a melee attack, you could use your reaction to choose between increasing your AC to potentially turn the attack into a miss, or moving up to your movement without provoking opportunity attacks.
Not the most sexy feature, but a reliable one that lets you decide between standing your ground or repositioning for tactical advantage.
Finally, 15th level grants you all hands on deck. Once per long rest, when initiative is rolled, you can use your reaction to increase you and your allies' initiative rolls by your wisdom modifier.
Captain's orders means everyone's up and at 'em no matter what.
The chosen creatures also get a 10-foot bonus to their speed, though only until the end of the first round of combat.
Play your cards right, and your crew will be on your enemies like sharks on chum.
Moving faster means you can lay down your Hunter's Mark more reliably, as well as have your allies get in range to take advantage of your captain's call.
Overall, we wanted the Corsair to feel like an admiral who leads from the front lines, setting their crewmates up for success no matter what comes their way.
Second on our list is a rogue who prefers the hunt to thieving and pickpocketing. A bounty hunter is a rare breed of rogue, one that chooses a hard life on the road, pursuing their quarry no matter where they hide. These professionals know how to bargain, fight, or threaten their way out of any situation, because there is no situation that they aren't prepared for. The fate of a bounty hunter's mark is often sealed far before the trigger is pulled. They just don't know it.
Look, we know Urban Bounty Hunter is a background in the Sword Coast Adventures Guide, and you might say that it sounds more like a background or profession than an actual subclass, but for the class who has Thief and Scout on the list, we think the Bounty Hunter should absolutely be in there.
Another time-honored archetype in fiction, with characters like Star Wars' Boba Fett, Cowboy Bebop's Spike Spiegel, and The Witcher's Geralt of Rivia taking up the mantle, often becoming iconic in the process.
The allure of studying and tracking your bounty to take them down, dead or alive, is an appealing one that lends itself to lots of social roleplay scenarios, as well as combat tactics.
Right off the bat at 3rd level, you learn to size up your bounties by either observing or studying up on them. Afterwards, you gain information about them and their tendencies, giving you advantage on ability checks to track them down and bring them in.
Additionally, you can use a bonus action to steady your aim against a bounty, giving yourself advantage on your next attack against them.
It does keep you from moving, but if you've planned ahead, that won't be an issue, since your hunter's tactics grant you exploits to use against your targets. When you land a sneak attack, you can forego a bit of damage to instead force the creature to make a saving throw or be subject to all manner of effects.
Trip, disarm, or rattle your bounty to make taking them in all the easier.
A bit of Battlemaster Fighter to make your bounty hunter unique with how they track their quarries. After all, each hunt is different.
9th level grants you the ability to drive hard bargains, as you can add your intelligence modifier to checks made for negotiating and bartering.
Bounty hunting isn't exactly an easy racket, so you've learned to get an edge whenever necessary.
At 13th level, you gain both flexibility and sustainability, using your perception in battle. Once per long rest, when you roll initiative, you can mark a new creature as a bounty without all the legwork, as you give them a hard read on the spot.
Now, when you use your uncanny dodge against a bounty, you can reduce the damage entirely to 0.
With your insight into their tactics, you can see your bounty's attacks coming a mile away.
Finally, at 17th level, you can get a 2-for-1 whenever you score a critical hit on a bounty, using a second exploit against your bounty for free.
Mix and match your exploits based on the circumstances, and watch your bounty struggle to find their footing.
We were hoping to marry roleplay and combat for the bounty hunter. Studying your bounties had real mechanical benefits which were varied and flexible. The ability to take advantage of your intelligence was also important to his identity, letting you outsmart your enemies.
Last but not least, a wizard who doesn't care what the cost is to achieve greater power. Though often shunned by their fellow arcane practitioners, Sangromancers have little care for the opinions of those unwilling to truly sacrifice in the pursuit of magical excellence. By infusing their own lifeblood into their spells, these wizards access fonts of magic beyond the realm of possibility. Though their macabre practices leave them with little in the way of reputation, those who study the blood arts bask in equal parts reverence and fear from foes and allies alike.
Blood magic. So simple, so straightforward, and yet almost unincluded in 5th edition. At least in 2014, where the only option is non-official partner content, so we still want to take a swing at a Blood Wizard.
Another archetype so ripe with potential. Think of every time you've seen a caster cut their palm with a dagger to cast a spell, or how characters like Chozo manipulate their own blood in combat.
We stuck to a wizard who expends their own lifeblood to amplify their magic because, well, we thought it was the coolest version of a Sangromancer. An arcane, intelligence-based caster that learns of ways to enhance their magic by any means necessary just felt right for the theme.
Once you choose this school at 2nd level, you drink red to gain temporary hit points anytime you bloody a creature with a leveled spell, making their suffering your gain.
You also learn to glean information from a creature's blood, depending on the amount you ingest. You know, the classic trope of licking blood off the ground to see what you can learn is written in blood, but magical.
At 6th level, the meat of this subclass comes online, as you can now pump your hit dice into your spell levels with Sanguine Amplification, lowering your hit point maximum in exchange. You can't exceed the maximum level you normally have access to, but you can add some sauce to your lower level spells if you're in a pinch.
Alongside Drink Red, you can keep yourself alive with temporary hit points while blasting your enemies in exchange for your vitality. A very glass cannon build, but one that has serious upside with proper usage.
Rapid Convalescence at 10th level lets you dig deep and recover hit dice alongside your spell slots when you use Arcane Recovery, but it's up to you if you want to take another rest to heal up, or use those hit dice as more ammunition for Sanguine Amplification.
You can keep literally bleeding for the cause, but the delicate balance between magical power and your hit points is something you'll have to maintain all the while.
Finally, at 14th level, your ability to utilize your blood for damage has reached its apex, as you can choose to max out the damage of a spell you cast with spell levels 1 through 5.
Every subsequent use of this feature drains you further and further, reducing your hit point maximum each time.
But combined with Sanguine Amplification, even a lower level spell can deliver a serious burst of damage. Upcasting Fireball at 9th level maxed out might be worth the cost of 6 or more hit dice, but that's up to you and your stat sheet.
Either way, the Sangromancer is a powerhouse blaster of a wizard who gets more brittle by the minute, but can dish out serious damage in return. The perfect glass cannon.
That does it for us today. We'd love to know what you think about our new designs and whether there are any other subclass niches that need filling in D&D.
And as always, you can find high quality PDFs for all 3 subclasses and more on our Patreon and Instagram, where all of our homebrew is shared, including items to accompany the Corsair, Bounty Hunter, and Sangromancer.
We had a lot of fun making another video in this series, and we'll be taking a shot at the remaining 6 classes down the line, so be sure to subscribe if you want to catch those upon release.
In the meantime, if you'd like to see more of our subclass designs, here are a few from this past Halloween.
And if you prefer monsters, check out our Pokefusions from the last month and the year prior.
Speaking of which, next month we're going back to a creature type we've explored before, one that is positively oozing with potential. So stick around if you'd like to see what we've got in store.
Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again next time.